Good evening. I am so excited for those that are joining and those that will see this recording. I am elated to welcome you to the very first stop for the Teens Unleashed virtual book launch. You may wonder, what in the world is a virtual book launch? Well, you know what a book tour is, right? Well, we're doing a virtual book tour. So all this week, this is the first stop, but all this week, you will have the opportunity to follow me on different platforms and interviews every single day. So today's the first day, and thank you for joining me. And then every single day this week, I am going to come back to this page and post that day's stop on the virtual book tour. And I hope you'll join me all the way through the week. And obviously, you can come back at any time and rewatch any of the interviews and podcasts on your own time as well. I am so thankful that you've joined me tonight. My name is Karla Marie Williams, and I am an author, speaker, wife of almost 24 years, and a mom of 6 kids. And I am so excited to share with you today my newest book, Teens Unleashed, Unschooling Young Adults as They Reach for Their Dreams. And this is Teens Unleashed. I wanted to talk about, why, did I write this book? What was my thought process when it came to writing this book? Well, I'd have to go back to 2018 when I wrote my first book, which was Homeschool Gone Wild. Many of you have read this. Many of you have told me how much this has touched your life and how your family's homeschool journey was impacted by this book. In the back of that book, I promised that I would come back and I would do a sequel to that book that basically shared our teen journey as unschoolers, as interest-led learners, so that you would be able to see what that looks like. A lot of families get really nervous. They think that unschooling is really cool when it comes to being able to, learn alongside their younger children. But when it comes to high school, we panic, right? We get what people call PUP, periodic unschooler panic. And then we get a little afraid and we revert back to the ways of thinking that we used to have when it came to the boxes that we put around learning and exploration. And so this book is an out-of-the-box book. This book is not for box checkers. This book is not for rule followers. This book is for people that want something absolutely different for their kids and are bold enough and brave enough to pursue that. And so I'm really excited that you're here with me today. Before I move on, I want to thank God for his inspiration for all of the books that I've been able to write over the last couple of years. I want to thank my husband for his support and my children, but also I have a huge team, a beta team and a launch team that have worked so hard over the last 2.5 months to make sure that this book was something that was impactful to families across the U.S., but also across the world. So I want to say thank you to all of you as well. But I wanted to make sure that you understood that Teens Unleashed is a continuation of Homeschool Gone Wild. And so I always suggest that people, both books are really great for you. If you've read Homeschool Gone Wild, then you are just in lockstep to begin Teens Unleashed. But we have a giveaway before we get started this evening. And this is a very special giveaway. And the reason why is because according to the reports, according to the media, homeschooling has doubled. I'm not talking about pandemic schooling. People that have chosen to homeschool has doubled over the last year for obvious reasons. And I wanted to award the newest homeschooler. So that would be someone that has been homeschooling for the last couple weeks or couple months. But you have to put in the comment section how long you've been homeschooling, and the newest homeschooler is going to win a copy of both Homeschool Gone Wild and Teens Unleashed. And so I want you to do that right now. Go input how long you've been homeschooling, weeks or months. Can't be years, but weeks or months. Go ahead and put that in the comment section, and we will decide who our winner is of 2 amazing books that I know will change your outlook, your perspective, and the journey of homeschooling for your family. And I'll give you just a few seconds so that we can see who that is. Do we have any new homeschoolers yet?
Beth Rose Johnson, October.
Okay, Beth Rose Johnson. She's the newest.
Yep.
Okay, so Beth Rose Johnson, you are the newest homeschooler, and you win both books, Homeschool Gone Wild and Teens Unleashed. All you need to do is you need to inbox me, Karla Marie Williams, author, on Facebook, and I will get those sent out to you. I'm so excited for you. You're really going to enjoy them. So let's move on. We have another giveaway a little later, and you'll all be able to compete.
She said thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. So I want to talk about 3 ways to unleash your teens. So a lot of people are like, teens unleash, what does that mean? Okay, so on the back of my book, I have unleash, which is a verb. To release from a leash, set loose to pursue or run at will. Now, some people may think, oh my God, that sounds crazy. Like, don't I need to be in control of my child? That's not what we're talking about. What we're saying when we say unleash is unleash your children to be who God created them to be able to walk in the gifts and the talents, to pursue their interests and their passions at will, taking control of their education, taking control of their interests, and running with those things with you as a facilitator and a support. And so I wanted to talk about 3 ways that you can unleash your teen, whether you're a homeschooler, whether your children are in public school, regardless. How can I unleash my teen? Remember that there is only one of your kid. Out of billions of people on this earth, there is only one of your child, which means if they are unique, their learning experience and their journey should also be unique. That is one way to unleash your teen, by allowing their learning experience and their learning journey to be unique. Something that they create, something that allows them to be in the driver's seat and allows them freedom to pursue the things that they're passionate about. Number 2, giving them creative power over what and how they learn. It prepares them for the real world. Colleges, employers, who doesn't want a self-starter? Who doesn't want someone that knows what they want and knows how to find the answers and be a critical thinker? Of course they do. Start your kids now. Help them have the creative power over their learning experience now, so that they can walk into the world prepared to take on and to lead in their respective areas. Number 3, highlighting their natural gifts and talents not only helps them clearly see the direction and the path for their life, but it also helps them see what's not for them. So those things always, always help. Highlight who they are, what their gifts and talents are, and what they have to offer the world. So I'm going to go back over those 3 ways to unleash your teens. Remember that there is only one of them, which means their learning experience should be as unique as they are. Number 2, give them creative power over their learning, what, when, and how they learn. Number 3, highlight their gifts and talents, because that will allow them to be their best self and become all that they're supposed to be. So now I wanted to talk about, I wanted to get into a couple questions. I have a lot of people that ask me questions about unschooling and interest-led learning and the things, even about my books. And so I wanted to answer a few questions for you guys. Here's your opportunity to get me live and to answer any questions that you have. So we're going to have you go ahead, take a moment, put your questions in the box. If I cannot answer all of them, then I will come back and answer them personally in the comment section. So I'm going to give you a quick second. You go ahead and put your questions in the comment section. Ask me anything, as long as it has to do with unschooling or interest-led learning, of course. Okay, do we have any questions, Jeff?
How do you recommend going about homeschooling a new foster child? By Beth Rose Johnson.
Okay. Hi, Beth. Actually, it depends on the state that you live in, and I'm not sure what state you live in, but I actually have experience with this. In my state, you are not able to homeschool a child that is being fostered unless you have court order to do so. If they deem that it's necessary based on emotional, mental, cognitive purposes, then they will give you a court order to be able to do so. If not, usually that child has to be enrolled in a public or private school program until the adoption is final, if adoption is what takes place.
Tamara Tanner says, what is an example of highlighting your child's gifts, talents?
Great question, Tamara. You know, that can look a lot of different ways. I'll give you an example. I remember my oldest daughter, we tried our hardest to push math. This is before we kind of opened our eyes as far as how we needed to do things with our kids. We pushed math and pushed and pushed and pushed. And not only did we not realize that she had a challenge in math, a learning challenge in math, but that her gift was in a whole nother area. And so when we stopped pushing and just kind of laid off, she naturally began to do the things that she was really good at. And we recognized, wow, she's a writer, she's a creative. And we would have missed the whole picture had we not paid attention to that and decided to change our track. And so that's kind of an example of it. Watching your children very closely without your input. What do they gravitate to on their own? How do they choose to learn? How do they pursue information? Those kinds of things kind of help you, give you clues as far as the natural talents and gifts of your children.
Yana Griffin, what's a good way to help your teens prioritize?
Very good question. Very, very good question. At the beginning of the year, we do ability. So just like you would be with a friend that says, oh, I want to lose this many pounds this year, and you're checking on her, how are you doing? You share each other's goals, you encourage each other. It's kind of the same way. You're kind of a coach, you're kind of a facilitator. So when I see my kids kind of wandering and not quite sure what to do with their time, then I remind them of the goals that they made for themselves, and that kind of gets them back on track. Or it may be that they don't have the resources or the information that they need to pursue what it is that they really want to do. And so that's on me. I need to get to work and find those things that will better help them pursue what they say they are interested in.
Vanessa asked a question, how to encourage a teen who isn't a self-starter?
Very good question. Well, I will say that every teen, I'll say that every person, not just a teen, kind of our learning ebbs and flows. And so first you have to determine whether or not this is a processing time or an action time. Sometimes what we think is not learning or is laziness or lackluster, lack of action, that kind of thing, is really processing. Sometimes they're kind of turning their ship a little bit in a different direction, or they could possibly be need resources or inspiration. And everybody's inspired by different things. You might have some that are inspired by nature, some that are inspired by music or art or sports or whatever the case is. You have to find what inspires that particular child and then figure out what tools they need. I talk about this a lot in the book. What tools does a person need to be able to accomplish what they need? If those things are not available to them, then it's easy to get discouraged. So hopefully that answered the question.
Jennifer asks, how do you get your spouse on board with interest-led learning?
Very good question. I should let my husband answer this question. But in the beginning, my husband wasn't 100%, but he did trust me with our children's education. So he just kind of stood back and watched. I suggest, most importantly, your children need parents that are on one accord. You don't need, to be fighting over the children's education. And so I think what's important, as in anything in marriage, is compromise. What are things that your spouse is unwilling to compromise on? If that's reading, writing, and math, then maybe those are things that he wants to choose, how they do that. And then ask for permission, say 6 months or 12 months, to try out interest-led learning in the other areas that he does not feel are non-negotiables. And a lot of times that helps a spouse see how interest-led learning is working without them feeling like time is being missed in the areas they feel are non-negotiable.
Cecilia asks, my son loves animation, but anytime I recommend something new, he shies away from it because it feels too much like structured learning. How do I introduce new things to him so he grows in the things he already knows how to do?
Very good question. And I have a couple of those. I have 6 kids. I have a couple of those. They want to be left alone to learn on their own. Some kids are just like that. And some kids, they want to be the one to find the resources and to find, really to learn and self-teach themselves. And so you got to know that about your kid. And then continue to make suggestions, but don't push it, because you don't know if they'll come back to that or if they'll use elements of it. So I would say continue, to get books, continue to, maybe show them a website or something like that may be helpful to take them to another level. But kind of back off and watch and see what they do on their own, because I have a few kids that completely shut down when I come in with all the things. They're like, okay, cut it, Mom, give me a break. And I also have a closet learner that learns off in the corner by himself and then comes and shows all the things that he's learned and blows your mind. And so you got to kind of know your kid and know what works best for them, and that will help you learn how to approach it without turning them off.
Vanessa asks, what was your turning point when you realized you had to let your teen go?
When I let my 12-year-old fly a plane. Sounds crazy, right? He was with someone else, but when I said, okay, he's 12 and he wants to be a pilot and he wants to do a lot of things in the aviation field, this sounds dangerous. This sounds scary. Sounds scarier than putting them behind the wheel of a car, right? But had I done that, he wouldn't be where he's at today. And he has exceeded so many, boundaries, and has done so much in that particular industry already at 17 that I would have been holding him back. And so if you notice that you are holding a child back, or that you have a child that is frustrated because they want to do something, but your fear is what's in the way of that thing, then I would figure out how to let them get their feet wet in that a little bit, and then just let go. Some of us have to let go cold turkey. Some situations force us to do that, and some of us have kids where you need to take it in steps. So you have to determine that. But it's important that you do not want to discourage your child from pursuing something because of your fear. And that's what I had to recognize, is that usually it was my fear that was holding them back.
Another question by Vanessa. What if your teen has multiple interests, 3 or more? How do you help gauge them or help them explore when it's so many?
Well, I always tell people, one of the things that we do when we do have a child that has lots and lots of interest, one of the things that we do is we explore low cost and free options, the internet, the library, community events and programs, things that they can be involved in and get their feet wet in all of those areas. It's not going to cost me anything to get a book on every area that they're interested in. It's not going to cost me anything but Wi-Fi to present websites and online information in all of those areas. Eventually, those things are going to be pared down to maybe one or two. Or sometimes they don't look like they connect, but down the line, you'll notice there's a theme. And those themes at some point will connect, and you'll look back like, I get it now. So don't be afraid to invest in those things. And sometimes they pare them down, and sometimes those things are actually connected. And so it's good to allow them to go down all of those roads.
I don't think I've asked this question, but Yana, what's a good way to help teens prioritize?
Yeah, she already asked that. Okay. I think that's all the questions that we have. Well, we're going to do another giveaway. And this person is also going to get both Homeschool Gone Wild and Teens Unleashed. If you happen to have Homeschool Gone Wild already, you can just bless a friend with it, right? So, you have 60 seconds. I will tell you when the 60 seconds starts, so don't start yet. You will have 60 seconds to tag 5 friends that you believe need Teens Unleashed. And once you do that, you will, the first person that tags 5 friends will win both books. And the 60 seconds begins now. And
20 seconds.
20 seconds. And done.
Looks like it's Devin Drawn Vasco.
All right, Devin Vasco. Woohoo! We're excited. We will be sending you Homeschool Gone Wild, which I know you have a copy, and Teens Unleashed. So you just won both of those books. Congratulations. Please send me your address, and I will get those out to you as soon as possible. All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. I wanted to make a few announcements. Come back to this page every day this week, and you will get a link that shows you the next stop on our virtual book tour. Just like you would do a book tour around the United States, I'm not letting a pandemic stop me from writing, and I'm not letting it stop me from doing a book tour. Albeit virtual, we're going to do this thing. So you can come back every day this week to this page, and you'll be able to get a new link that shares with you a new interview and new information about Teens Unleashed and how we do what we do. I'm also going to be putting the links to both books in the comment section as soon as we are done here, so that you can just click that and you can purchase your books that way. For those that have read either of the books, and for those that are waiting on their book to come, we've had a lot of sales this week. I am asking you, please do an Amazon review. I'm telling you, the greatest gift and support that you can give to any author is a positive Amazon review or positive Goodreads review. So I ask you from the bottom of my heart to support my work by doing a review. It would be very, very helpful. I really pray that this book and all the books that I write are a blessing to people. I write to be an inspiration and to really encourage change, positive change in people's lives and families' lives. And so I hope that Teens Unleashed is a blessing to you, to your family, and to your homeschool group, to your homeschool journey, and whoever you share the information with. But I want to thank you tonight for joining us and for being a part of our very first stop on the Teens Unleashed virtual book tour. Thank you. Good night.